It's the next day. The first thing I want to do is drill out this hole I marked yesterday. That was just a regular carbide tip drill bit I used, and I didn't have the drill on hammer. I've taken the time to scrape any mortar out of the joints that was up near the surface, and I've scrubbed them all down with a stiff brush. To grout the tiles, I've got non-sanded grout mixed up. The tool I'm going to be using is a rubber float, and I've got a bucket with some clean water in there and a sponge. As I mentioned before, I'm not terribly fond of grouting, but one of the things that I really don't like about it is mixing up the grout. So I've mixed up what I think is probably a little bit too much, so I'll only have to mix it once. Basically, I take it up on my float. It's got nearly the same consistency as the mortar when I mix that. It's fairly stiff. I'm just going to put that right on the tiles. Just working it in to the joints. Okay, I've got the entire wall, this part done, and I scraped off as much as I could with the float. Now I've got my sponge here, which I've wrung as much water out as I could, and I'm going to remove as much of the excess as I can. But what I'm not going to do is erode the grout joints. It's going to go over the surface, circular motion. If I see a hole open up, I'll take a little grout, my finger, squeeze it in. Okay, now I've been wiping the wall, and my sponge looks like this, got a lot of grout on there. Now what I'm doing is I'm paying attention to the grout lines to try to make them look even with the sponge. I'm not using a lot of water here. There's no water coming out of the sponge. I'm just smoothing off the grout lines. Another thing you can do if the sponge is not working for you to straighten out the joints, you can use your finger to tool it a little bit. I'm the type of person that likes to have things as smooth and neat as possible, so this is what I'm doing, and then quickly give it a little bit with the sponge and do some more. Well, after I'm happy with how the joints look, you can leave it alone for 10-15 minutes to let the grout set up a bit. Then you can go over it again with a damp sponge once more to get rid of most of the haze. In the meantime, I'm not going to start the back wall. I'm going to start this other end wall and do it. Then once this is done, I can go back, clean this one up, and start on that side and work my way across. And the procedure is exactly the same on this side. Push it in, screed it off, clean it up. Well, it took a couple hours, but it's all done. And that's a good thing. Well, that's another tough job out of the way. Now I can get on with putting the fixtures in here, putting the tub control and all that on. Well, I got everything installed. I didn't take any footage of that. That's fairly basic stuff, and really it's really specific to the type of faucet that you have. So I didn't bother to go into that. The one thing that I'm not really happy with here is the hose thing for the handheld shower. It seems very plasticky and cheap, you could say, and it doesn't hang properly. I don't know if I run some hot water through it, if it'll work that out, but also it's a bit long, so I'm going to look for a shorter one, and hopefully I can find one, and also one that's a bit better quality. I'm getting ready to clean the haze off the tile, and what I found before is that you can wash this until the cows come home, and it seems like you'll still wind up with haze on the tile. What I found to be the best way to get rid of the haze is with just a dry towel like this and wipe it off. There are two places that I need to caulk around the tub. One is across the deck on both ends and across the back, and the other is up the corners. Even though I grouted the corners, they'll still probably crack and probably leak over time. So it's always a good idea to put a bead of caulking in the corner. Try to be as smooth as I possibly can as I move across. I'm using 100% silicone, and I've got the tip of the nozzle cut off pretty small. Now to smooth it out, I'm just going to finger tool it. One time across to get the high spots, and then with a little bit more pressure on the second pass.